First of all, New York City's communities of colors and low-income community are the reluctant hosts of the city's most polluting infrastructure and little or no environmental amenities. The provision of mass transit that is efficient is really important for their survival, and they already have a disproportionate amount of burdens, and this would be just one more. So they're disproportionately impacted by poor service, and I appreciate everybody else's in this panel's discussion, because I think they've made it really clear with their stories. I've actually even felt lucky to be in a city where we have more or less a 24-hour system in some places, and give or take, it's something really wonderful, and to think that that could be taken away from us is it's frightful. We've gone so far. Also, in the New York City metro area, transportation is a really large expense, and this applies to all of the country, but in New York in particular, it's the second highest expense after shelter, only comparable with food. And for the poorest families, this could be 40% of their take-home income, especially if they're in an area where they don't have transit, or maybe they're forced to buy a car to do the daily things that they need to do. New York City's public transportation system is viewed across the country as one of the best, and yet it has the largest operating deficit of all. This deficit has been exacerbated by debt payments. For the past 15 years, New York State legislature and New York City government has significantly reduced funding to the MTA, which has forced them to take bonds in order to maintain and expand the system. Now the debt and the interests are taking up an increasing amount of their annual expenses, and this is just putting a lot of pressure on the fares. As a result, this year we saw the threat of significant fare and toll increase and the worst service cuts and layoffs ever. The state legislature came up with a financing plan that prevented the layoffs and the cuts and softened a bit the fare and the toll increases. But it only provides for a 2-year capital program, and the needs of the MTA, which as you know is a huge system, are much bigger than that. And operating costs continue to rise at ever-increasing rates because of many reasons. Without an additional source of operating funds, we are aware that this is just going to happen in the near future. This is just going to come back, and it's going to impact millions of transit riders and just impose an unfair burden on the transit dependent. I think what's most important of what we've heard today is that transportation is very much linked to social and environmental justice issues, and to issues that affect us all: public health, air and water quality, climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, job creation, safety. There's too many things that transportation affects. And the fact that the reauthorization bill is coming up is a really historical and unique opportunity to really change things. And all of you that are here, just to do a little bit more research in the ways that you can exercise leadership and in some way have a meaningful impact on quality of life and livelihood across the nation, because it is something intricately linked to all our lives and our daily lives. We really hope that you can help us build support for any of these areas to maybe build what has been said here multiple times, a truly multimodal system. We've heard this multimodal in previous bills many times, and we really don't see that in reality. That's not what exists. We feel that we need a real investment in transit, and I know that right now the question is about the revenue source, and that I think is the first question that has to be addressed. But also just to give cities flexibility in terms of how they use their fundings. Not every city and every space has the same conditions, but I think there should be a flexibility to be able to invest in both capital and operating. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions.